This is the test rig. It's a HPI Savage on a concrete block. It's the Force 3.5 engine. We've got the exhaust facing the camera, microphone and sound meter, which will be mounted over there on the table, which is 5 meters away roughly, but I'll get you an exact measurement. So that's the setup. I'm going to do as much of the conversing in the beginning part, so you don't have to watch through all the filming and testing if you don't want to, but I also would like it if you do want to, you could add your comments and thoughts to the comment section, because there's quite a lot of data shown in the videos which is, you know, semi-overwhelming to look through, and someone else's eye will pick up on parts that I don't get to in this point, and then I can add it in later. Firstly, this is a follow-up video onto one I made earlier on how to quieten down your nitro car and some of the ways we can do that, and this is a testing video putting some of those concepts into action. I'll put a link to that in the description or a card in the video here. So these are the 4 exhausts we're going to test out. They are the Kyosho, which has this internal baffle inside it, and I might show some footage with the baffle removed as well, because it's removable. So if you undo these screws, there is that baffle inside, and it's a cast. You can see the casting marks. This is a cast exhaust, so it's quite thick and heavy. Let's get a weight on it here. 83 grams for that one. I mean, minus a little bit for the mount there. We're going to look at a plastic exhaust, and this I think is off an Ansmann. It's not the HPI exhaust, which has a similar one that comes as standard on the Savage. It's a 2-part exhaust that has a baffle cone inside like this as well, and the weight of that is 63 grams. And the reason I'm giving weights is you get an idea of the density of material we're talking about, or you hear in action. This is a pressed aluminium exhaust, but it is quite a decent wall thickness. You can feel it's heavier, and hear by the sound it's quite sturdy, and that comes in at 77 grams. And then we've got, I'll take this rubber off. This is branded, I think, a Team Losi exhaust, and this is quite a light pressed alloy exhaust, and you can hear that straight away. This is a lightweight exhaust, thin walls, and we'll see that reflected in the weight at 61 grams, although I would have thought that would be a little bit more lighter than it sounds and feels. I've also got my long stinger pipe, which, look in there, is a thick wall silicone pipe weighing at 40 grams, so almost half of most of these exhausts. And we've got the short stinger pipe, slightly thinner wall. These are what you can buy easily for nitro cars from model shops, and that weighs at just 10 grams. The baffle from that Kyosho one is steel. Right, this was the sound meter used. It's a basic sound meter. I wouldn't say it's particularly accurate or a high-end piece of kit. It was just to give an indication. That's what I had to hand. Right, so I've got a list of things to mention about the test here, which I think are quite important, and they are it's not a perfect test. Some of the good points about it was we're doing it all on the same day with the same engine and the same vehicle in the same location. It's a static test, so it doesn't take into account what things sound like as they're whizzing past you or going further or closer away. There was a light wind blowing. If the wind's blowing away from you, that significantly reduces the sound that anybody hears or you hear. If it's blowing towards you, that's going to increase the sound. This was a light wind and it was in a wind shaded environment, so I don't think that affected it. As mentioned in the previous clip, and when you saw the test rig set up, it's about 5 meters away from where the vehicle was. Some other points where I found was the manifold gasket was a bit loose on the engine. It was a bit worn. You could tell that. I could tell that being up close, but that was probably releasing a fair bit of sound as well. So having a tight manifold gasket and or a fresh new one, that would have been an improvement. And some other things to improve were the Savage I was using was a 3-speed gearbox, so we had sounds of it shifting up at points, or that was hampering like the cleanness of the sound, so that would have been better on a single speed setup, so you didn't have that issue. Towards the end I was managing it with the throttle, but inevitably that was causing a bit of a detraction from the pure sound. The resolution of the sound meter being basic didn't really give us a really good or high resolution data to look at as to what we were achieving by trying out these different things. And also the nature of decibel rating is not a linear scale, so it's not just a simple case of number went up, sound up, number down, sound down. Each time it goes up, it is by a multiple of the one before. So 92 decibels is significantly more than 91 decibels, not just 1/91th more. So look up dB rating or decibel measurement if you want a more in-depth understanding of that. All in all these things comprise quite a lot of data to analyze, and that's why I need your help with it if you're interested in the subject and the outcomes. Otherwise, we'll get to some basic solutions which I'll just give you now, because we're filming on the table here and we can talk about them. So generally it looked like you couldn't particularly quieten down the sound at top RPM. By and large, when the engine was at full RPM, you're at full throttle screaming away, they were all as loud as each other. However, you could significantly reduce the sounds from idle to mid-range the most, and then a bit like mid-range to upper end less so, but still significantly. There's no doubt at all adding on the stinger pipes make a huge difference to all of the exhausts. They simply just slashed that sound output at low and mid-range RPM. So if you just want the most simple solution to quieten down your nitro, the cheapest and most simple was the most effective bang for buck, clearly, is to just put a stinger pipe on. There's two benefits. It clearly reduces the sound, and you can direct it in a direction, so pointing it down at the ground or underneath the vehicle if it's a truck or something is a secondary aspect as to the damping effect of the silicone, which, being flexible and dense, absorbs some sound waves and cancels out some pulses along its length. So look, that's the simple solution to quieten it down. At least get one of these. if you're really going for it, the longer one also does help to do it a bit more, and it's not always so inconvenient because you can direct this towards the back of the vehicle or through a shock tower and under or something, so it's not impossible to run a longer stinger tube. It does significantly quieten it down, especially if you're possibly running a monster truck and you're not always screaming away, you're doing a lot of bashing activity or maneuvering and wheeling and stuff, or things at lower RPM. You could significantly reduce the impact to your neighbours and have space to run a long stinger tube like this. So those are the main points. After that, I think we had some interesting results with the lightweight and dense aluminium exhaust, because it did seem like there was a good resonance in this exhaust, which did actually keep the sound quite effectively down. No, let's not say down. It was effective in doing its job. Surprisingly, given it was also the lightest and thinnest material, so you might have thought that was just terrible, but it wasn't terrible. The denser one and the plastic one, I think the two ones you expected to have the most quieting effect did have that, and again, especially at lower RPM and not so much screaming running, they're worth a go. And then in combination with these and a stinger, you did have a really decent reduction in sound. I would have thought there would have been a bit more out of the denser aluminium one, but it didn't seem to be as perceptible in this test. But as I said, the way of measuring it that we could see, the microphone quality on the phone and the decibel meter are not so accurate that you could really get into the nitty-gritty specifics as to which one was better. So what I'll talk about then is what you could tell from it, and what likely would be the case if you could see all more high resolution data, is that these things are all going to be effective at different resonant frequencies, and that's going to depend on what engine you're using, what vehicle you're in, what gearing you're in, then also what environment you're in. Are you running on hard paved ground, reflecting a lot of sound? Are you running on thick, long grass, absorbing a lot of sound? And at what RPM? We could see that all of them at full RPM were pretty much just as loud as each other. But at lower RPM, we had significant variance. So what I would then advise as to a practical method of working with that is you could run tall gearing, and therefore you're not using as much RPM screaming along, and you'd be using more the torque of the motor to pull you along. Obviously this isn't going to count for an out-and-out racing, but if you're just practicing or bashing, you can run taller gearing. That is going to translate to less sound carrying across to and annoying other people, or possibly annoying yourself. And I would say from experience, from a practicing driving and training point of view, the tall gearing is helpful. It has helped me, and quietening the car down has helped me become a better driver, significantly better, because not having the engine screaming, working on the smoothness of lines, and also being punished for not having a screaming engine that can race through and accelerate you out of your poor driving style, does help you become smoother, take better lines, make less mistakes. And actually there's setups where I found it really improved like my racing results, because of just getting used to driving with higher gearing allowed me to carry a lot more speed through corners, and then that was bringing my lap times down as opposed to my previous driving method. So it's not all bad, you get to do a bit of training on your driving, work on some other aspects of your driving, but as well as having that, lowering that screaming and racing through the RPM effect that carries as sound. Again, if you are getting annoyed by the sound, or people are hassling you about the sound, that kind of constant revving is generally what annoys people. So generally being smoother, and what I would say is, I mean, you can obviously say you can change your location. If you move it away from people, then they won't be getting annoyed with you. But if you are near people, you can change the circuit that you're doing there. So what if you're just racing up and down, just screaming to max RPM, braking, turning around, and then in a sort of oval shape, but without a smooth corner, that's probably what most people find most annoying. Whereas if you make a bit of a track for yourself, even if you change that to what we call a kidney, so it's, you do have a straight, but in the return straight you have a kink in it, in the circuit. So let me just describe it. Going along round the corner, then you come back in the kink and back round that corner, then onto the straight. Now if you do that and work smoothly on your line, and that's in the same space where you might have just been going skidding, 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 but if you work on that, doing a smoother shape, that sound itself will also carry a lot less and be a lot less annoying to other people around, and give you a point to work on your training and your car setup. So you're achieving things while also not being hassled by people. And just to clarify, if anyone's wondering where I'm coming from with these how to quieten down your nitro videos, it's not because I don't like the sound. It's because we all have the problem of other people getting annoyed and overly annoyed and hassling us. And what would you rather do, be able to use nitro cars, or just being hounded down or cajoled into not doing it? And these are, I'm trying to give some practical solutions as to how we can carry on doing and enjoying this hobby and sport. But I must say, in my own personal journey of going through this, which I have done, so I understand this with full empathy on my part when people are getting annoyed with you. I've been in many an argument with many a person about the sound of a nitro car. I have found in my own journey that it did benefit me, and that's what I would like to get across as well to everyone else, that it benefited me to reduce that screaming sound, work on my driving, work on my setup, and I became and got a lot more out of the hobby from doing that. So that's probably why I'm a bit quite passionate about quietening it down. It's not just for them, the haters. It can help you too. So there we go. Just to summarize on the practical testing, what is the best bang for buck is your stinger pipes. You could try out a few exhausts because maybe they cut out the resonant frequency that carries the most on your vehicle, your engine. And thirdly, look at other factors such as changing, putting more control into your direction of driving, and possibly using higher gearing as well. And if you do a selection of these things, it's going to cumulatively make a big impact. So that's it. I'll follow this with all the testing videos of using the different exhausts. Used every single one and tried them with the stinger, with a no stinger, and with the long stinger. And then if you're interested, look through those, and please add your thoughts and comments below. And I hope this has been a help. Ran out of fuel. That was the Losi thin alloy exhaust to the heavy alloy exhaust. Back to the Kyosho chambered exhaust. Going for a little test here. Kyosho chambered exhaust, chamber removed.